Good evening and welcome to everyone. Um, Hope you're having a good week, staying safe. Hope you enjoyed our Oktoberfest last weekend. That was great fun. I didn't know what to expect doing it online, and it went very, very smoothly and was a lot of fun, except for the bingo, which I didn't win. So other than that, it was great. Good. Tonight, we're happy to welcome Mr. Steve Mullen. Steve's been in the area for many years, and he's worn a number of different hats in the diocese as a pastoral minister at Queen of All Saints in Hayward for a number of years, worked at St. Joe's in Alameda, and his current position is what we're going to hear about and learn about today. I think that many of you perhaps know of the Cristo Rey movement, which is an effort to bring quality education into underserved communities. And the Cristo Rey movement is many schools throughout the country. And we're going to hear a little bit about Cristo Rey de la Salle School in our own diocese in Oakland. So welcome, Steve. The floor is yours. You have to unmute yourself.
Here we go.
There you go.
Good. And we'll see if I can share my screen. There we go. Thank you, Father John and Christoph, for your welcome and for setting me up and for sharing the good news. I think all of us know that our job as Catholics is to share the good news of Jesus, and to bring him to places to bring healing to those who are struggling. And right now we're living in a crazy world, aren't we? We're living in a world where we worry about health issues, we worry about the economy, the presidential election, and international issues. But tonight, I want to share with you good news about our church. I think sometimes we wonder about the church and we worry about its future, don't we? And I think as I share with you tonight what I consider really good news, my hope tonight for you is that it will give you a sense of hope and joy for the future of the church. But also in many ways, I hope you might be interested in embracing the mission I'm going to talk about and to share the story, to share the good news. So as Father John mentioned, I've done a lot of pastoral ministry work in parishes. I have taught, I have been very involved in Catholic charities, and now I'm at Cristo Rey de la Salle. Why would I go to this new place and start a new position? And I do it because I cannot think of a better ministry, a better mission than to bring educational equity and opportunity for the most underserved in our society. And that's what you're doing through Cristo Rey de la Salle High School, which is actually, for those who know St. Elizabeth's Parish in the Fruitvale, the school is in the old St. Elizabeth's High School. So we keep that tradition alive and even go by the name the Mustangs. So let's look a little bit tonight at who Cristo Rey de la Salle High School is and what we're doing. So here we have some of the students, and you see they dress up, don't they? So there's a full uniform like the old days at this school, ties and coats. The kids love putting them on. The Cristo Rey de la Salle East Bay High School at St. Elizabeth campus is a diverse LaSallian Catholic learning community that enables the young men and women to become people of faith and purpose through a rigorous and personalized college preparatory curriculum with a corporate work study experience that prepares students of low economic means to succeed in college and in life. So you may not know this, but most teenagers of color in Oakland and in any of our major cities, they don't graduate from high school. most drop out. That's worrisome, isn't it? Because if they drop out, where do they go? Gangs, they get involved with drugs, they have difficulty maintaining their families, and they spiral out of control and they make our society more difficult. One thing you'll know with Cristo Rey students is every one of them graduates from high school and everyone is accepted into college. Every one of them. And these are kids who come from the most difficult of circumstances. So I want to share with you a little bit tonight. I want to talk about who we are at Cristo Rey. I want to talk about the three main components of this high school, this Catholic high school. Rigorous academics, a very, very unique corporate work study program, and then a wholeness community that we talk about. And then I want to talk just briefly about the larger community. Because what makes things successful? I want to, let me see if I can get rid of it. I can. This is a description of Cristo Rey and what it does by an author for the U.S. News and World Report, who did a national study on Cristo Rey. And this is what he says. In a world where the social fabric is fraying, Cristo Rey weaves back together businesses, schools, churches, families and children and communities all together in the mutual pursuit of providing quality education. As a result, the students that go to Cristo Rey schools have a more diverse experience than they would get in a traditional educational setting. Co-workers get to meet, mentor, and learn from students who come from different backgrounds from their own. Support for the school is cultivated in the family communities, and families are able to afford an education that would otherwise be beyond their reach. Cristo Rey network has been around since 1996, and it is the #1 program for educating inner city kids. So the Cristo Rey network is the only network of high schools in the country that integrates a 4-year rigorous college prep academics with 4 years of professional work experience. It's comprised of 37 Catholic college and career prep schools all over the United States that serve over 12,000 students in 24 states, and we now have over 18,000 graduates. The Cristo Rey network delivers a powerful and innovative approach to inner city education that equips students for families of limited income means with the knowledge and character and skills to transform their lives. The school was started originally in Chicago, in inner city Chicago, a Jesuit high school that was going to close. Almost 50% of all Catholic high schools in the United States have closed because we can't find an economic model that works. Before, when you and I were young and we went to Catholic school, those of us who were lucky to, primarily, one, education was cheaper in those days, and secondly, because of the nuns and cheap labor, people who didn't have means were able to go to Catholic schools. Those days are gone, and most of our inner city Catholic schools are closing, and therefore immigrants and the poor are not being afforded the great education that many of us received. And so in Chicago, before this priest was going to close his school, he decided he would go door to door to the businesses in Chicago and ask the businessmen and women to hire his kids. And so the model was born. So these businesses agreed and they hired the kids, and the kids worked 1 day a week, 8 hours, regular shift. And then at the end of the school year, the companies paid the school half of the tuition. The rest of the tuition was not made up by the families because the families were poor, and it was made up by individuals like you and I that believed in Catholic education and helping those who are less fortunate than we. And rapidly the model grew. It moved from Chicago to Portland to New York to Florida and throughout California. And then 3 years ago, we opened one in Oakland to take the place of St. Elizabeth's School that had closed because of economics. And when we started that school, we looked for a religious sponsor. And that's why it has the longest title in the world. Cristo Rey de la Salle is a Lasallian Catholic community. So what is that? I think most of you know what a Christian brother is. And the Christian brothers are all over the world, and their primary work is education. Education of the young, and specifically education of those who are poor. And so Bishop Barber asked the Christian brothers to come in and to be the primary sponsor of the school. And so we've taken up their motto, and we've taken up their charism to bring faith and purpose and service to the students that we educate. So who are these students? Who are the students that go to Cristo Rey de la Salle? None of my kids can go to Cristo Rey de la Salle. Most of the kids that are at Bishop O'Dowd or St. Mary's or St. Joseph's Notre Dame can't go either. Because let me tell you a little bit about the students that go to Cristo Rey de la Salle. They're from the East Bay, mostly from Oakland, but they come from Richmond and Concord and San Leandro and even all the way down to Fremont. They're all kids that identify as kids of color. 80% are what they call Latinx now. You and I used to refer to them as Latinos. Latinx. 17% are Black and African American. 2% are Asian, and then the other 3% is Pacific Islanders. So these are the kids that we hear a lot about in the news, the kids that seem to be missing out on things and aren't moving forward. They're not in the tech fields, they're not getting jobs in our big corporations, and they continue to struggle. Many of our students are first generation, some DACA kids, some kids who've been here and really want to make a difference. 77% of the kids are Catholic, 13% are Christian of a different background, but they all learn about our faith. When they come to us from the middle schools they graduate from, most of the students are 3 to 4 years behind academically. So instead of being at a 9th grade level, they're at a 6th grade level. But by the time they leave Cristo Rey de la Salle, they will all be qualified for UC, University of California admittance. What a program. So how does it work? And how do we instill in these kids hard work and discipline? We give them an opportunity. The first that we've talked about and emphasized a lot is all about rigorous academics, college prep. Some people don't think these kids can make it because they're too far behind. But as I said, in 1 year, we are able to bring these kids back and pull them all the way up to grade level. Our juniors have all started AP classes, advanced placement in physics. God, I could never do that. And in mathematics. Every one of them. And so when we do our academics, the first thing we do is we use a model that respects each person. And so each student at Cristo Rey de la Salle has a mentor that walks with them, supports them, and listens to them. The second thing we do is we share with the kids the concern that we have as Catholics, and that is that we're concerned for the poor and social justice. And we ground everything we do in Catholic social teaching. Quality education that meets each student's needs. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we are able to educate each student individually. But first, just to share that we're an inclusive student. We take any student who qualifies from the point of view of economics and shows an interest in being there. They need to want to be there because they have to work hard. And then the last thing we instill in them is a sense of purpose, and we give them a vision for their future. so that they don't have to just look at the four walls or the neighborhoods they come from, but they're able to imagine being a doctor, a lawyer, imagine being a computer engineer, a teacher, and they dream. And then you'll see at the bottom of this slide the pictures of the students, but we use this platform called the Summit Learning Platform. We are the only Catholic school in the United States using it right now. The Summit Learning Platform is supported by the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation, and it works individually with each student on the computers, and it helps them discover what their strengths and their weaknesses are. And each week we send out results, and we discover what each student needs to work at on a daily basis. So if you would go to a normal class at Cristo Rey, it's different than what you and I had. You and I had a big class with 30 students or more in it, teacher up in front with a chalkboard. Our students have classes of about 16 to 20, and yet a class is broken up in 3 different ways. The first part of the class lasts about 20 to 30 minutes, and it's a traditional classroom like you and I remember. Lecture, teacher talking to the students. The second part of the class is the kids are broken into groups of 3 to 5 to work in small groups on projects. And that's the way all people work in the business world today on the whole, is in groups, being creative, supporting one another in collaboration. Then the third part of the day, the other 20 minutes in the class, the kids go and work individually on their project or their specific area of need, and the teacher goes around and does it. And because of that model, we are able to move them up to 3 to 4 grades in 1 year, one of the highest averages in the nation. So you can be proud of that. Now here's the unique feature of Cristo Rey de La Salle besides academics, and that is the corporate work study program. Throughout the nation, there's 2,000 businesses that hire Cristo Rey students to work. So school's hard enough, isn't it? Well, these children go to school 4 days a week, and then they have to work an 8-hour day each week in a corporation with a real job. Some of them work in HR or marketing. We have children that work for Kaiser. We have children that work for law firms or Dignity Health. We have them work in tech companies like Microsoft and Google, and also in dentist's office. And the students there are learning how to work. These are kids, many of them that come from the inner city, and they're learning how to talk in the corporate world, how to dress in the corporate world, how to interact in the corporate world, and learn the language. But most importantly, what this does is allow the students to dream and imagine what it could be like to be an accountant, to be a marketing manager, to be a salesman or saleswoman. And what we're doing in the corporate work study is not just getting money to pay for the children's education, but more importantly, giving them the ability to dream about the future, where most kids who come from great poverty are afraid to dream. The corporate work study program. Then the third aspect of our program is called our wholeness and community life. So our wholeness team, which has counselors and directors in it, provide individual as well as family counseling where that's needed. Most of our kids worry about being homeless. Many of our kids have scarcity of food, and all of our kids have gone through certain traumas. And we know that unless we support them and provide them opportunities to work through those issues, they won't succeed. And so we offer counseling. That counseling is both therapeutic, but also we offer them college counseling once they reach their junior year. And we help them pick a school that works for them as they look forward to the future. And then the other thing that we do, like at any high schools, we do have athletics. We have basketball and volleyball and soccer. No football team, too small of a school. We have campus ministry, and we have a full range of clubs and activities that the kids participate in. So Cristo Rey de La Salle is much like a normal high school, but in many ways, it's a unique space. And so a big part of Cristo Rey de La Salle is the support of the larger community, the support of you and me in business partnerships. And when people hear of the types of students that we're educating and succeeding with, they all say they want to help. And so we realize that we can't make it without people's support. And so at Cristo Rey de La Salle, there's opportunities to volunteer. And we have, how do the kids get to work? Well, sometimes they take BART, sometimes they go on one of our vans and they take the bus, but because they're underage, they have to have a chaperone take us. So we have many people who chaperone the kids to their workspace at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they pick them up in the afternoon. We have chaperones of all ages and all backgrounds, including Father Paul Vassar, who's one of our favorite volunteers. We have others that help volunteer by being mentors and tutors, and also those who help in class and share their story. We have volunteers that help out at chaperone events and dances. And if you had any interest in that, you could do that too. Another way people help us is to connect us with businesses. Our corporate sponsorships provide us with 45% of our revenue to pay for tuition, 45%. Because of COVID, we've lost 50% of our corporate sponsors, $1 million. And so we need to connect with new businesses. Today I was on the phone with Dignity Health, and we just started a new contract with them, and they're going to employ a bunch of our kids. That's exciting. But you may have a business, or you may know of someone who owns a business that we could introduce them to the Cristo Rey model. We would love to do that. And this isn't charity. It's not a hand up. These kids work, and they work hard. They know how to do spreadsheets and Excel sheets. They know how to do Google and all the computer stuff. So the kids earn their education. Have you ever heard the line, pull yourself up by your bootstraps? These kids do that. But the first thing we have to do is provide the students with bootstraps. They don't have bootstraps. As I said, most of their parents make less than $50,000 a year. Catholic education costs about $20,000 a year. So this education that really everyone should be afforded is out of their reach unless we provide it for them. But the kids understand that unless they work and work hard, they're not going to make it. And so we have a 96% retention rate. We don't lose students because they work so hard. So besides connecting with a business or volunteering, you can sponsor a student. And sponsoring a student means having one of the students and help with their tuition, whatever you can afford to make a difference in their lives. And this is one of the things my wife and I do. We sponsor a student. And that way we do it for 4 years, and they work their way through school and begin to achieve the support they need in order to be successful. So I wanted to sort of give you an overview of this school that's in the heart of Oakland, that's open to all East Bay students who are poor, but who want to make a difference. And you're looking at kids who, without our help, statistically won't even graduate from high school. But with our help, not only will they graduate from high school, they are 4 times more likely to graduate from college than all their peers. That's exciting news. And I want to share a story of what does a Cristo Rey student look like when they're 30 years old. And I'm going to share a story about Annie and her parents. Annie's parents are from Vietnam. And when Vietnam and Hanoi fell, her father escaped on a boat, a small boat, and he floated in the ocean. And he was rescued and was sent to the United States and was a refugee in Portland with his wife. And in Portland, they started a life, struggled deeply like any immigrant does, and worked hard. And Annie went on to Cristo Rey de La Salle School in Portland, graduated with honors, was accepted at University of Oregon and became a duck, and graduated with a degree in computer science and marketing. Annie went and worked for a small tech company in the Bay Area and did extremely well. And she was being very, very successful in this startup company, but something was pulling on her, that she felt God was calling her to give back. And she heard about Cristo Rey de La Salle in the East Bay opening up. And so Annie left her job where she was making well over $100,000 a year, with the potential with stock dividends of making maybe millions of dollars. And she gave it all up to come and become the admission director at Cristo Rey de La Salle to give back. So what types of students do Cristo Rey de La Salle produce? Students that work hard, students who care about making a difference in our world, and students who give back. That's good news, isn't it? It's the good news of the gospel. It's what we hear about and what we're challenged about each time, to give back. Our job, I think, is the next generation is to encourage these kids to do better than we did and to make a difference in the world. And so I come to you tonight to share with you the good news and invite you to become a part of Cristo Rey. So if you're interested in being a part of Cristo Rey de La Salle High School, you can contact me. But if you know how to use the chat box here on your computer on Zoom, you can just put in your name and phone number or your email, and I will reach out to you. Not to bug you, not to ask you for money, but to ask you what you'd like to learn or how you'd like to be involved. So with me talking a long time, and I could talk and tell stories till I'm blue in the face, but I also want to take a moment to breathe and to see if you or Father John or Christoph had any questions.
Thanks very much, Steve, for that introduction. It's inspiring and admirable. I can't imagine those kids being able to catch up 3 grades in a year.
It's amazing.
How challenging that must be, but how eager they are to do that. A couple of questions that I had. Was it Jesuits who began the first Cristo Rey in Chicago?
Yes, it was a Jesuit community, and almost every one of the Cristo Rey schools now is sponsored by a religious community.
And how many are De La Salle sponsored?
I believe the De La Salle, the LaSallians now have 3 Cristo Rey schools, one in Arizona, one in Oregon, and one here. And then obviously the Christian Brothers have schools all over the world as well.
And then what's the size of the entire school body in Oakland?
Great question. Right now we're at 205 students. We will grow to be 450 in the next 3 years.
And
we only have 3 grades now.
You have 3 grades going now?
Yeah, freshman, sophomore, and we just started our junior year.
I see. And can you tell us a little bit about the business partnership? What are some of the places? Do you know any by name where these kids are doing their? Is it a midweek on a Wednesday?
Yeah. When a business hires a student, they hire what's called a full-time employee. But that full-time employee is divided up by 4 students. And one student works on Monday, one works on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they rotate through the month working on a Friday. They work 8 hours and they're regular jobs. And some of the places we work is with the district attorney's office, Nancy O'Malley. She hires a number of our kids to work in different aspects of the legal field. We have a number of kids who work for Kaiser, both in the medical part, but also the business aspect of the company. Kaiser is the largest employer in Oakland, I think probably in the East Bay. We have students that work for small and large accounting firms like Deloitte, Heffernan. We have a guy who's a startup business, so it's him, just him as a one employee, and he hires a group of students to work with him. We have kids that are working for, how many other, Clorox, and some of the larger and smaller companies in Oakland and in the East Bay. Our students go anywhere that BART goes. So they'll go all the way down to Fremont. They'll go into Concord, down to Pleasant Hill, as well as San Francisco.
Wow. And so they are not paying the student, they're paying the school, which covers the student's tuition or part of it. Is that correct?
So exactly. So the students, we are sort of like an employee agency for those of us who are old enough, the Kelly Girl model. And a corporation will come and look, and they'll hire our student to do the kind of work that a Kelly Girl or employment agency would hire. And so we take care of all the taxes, we take care of all the insurance for the kids and the company, and then we provide supervision as well. So it's a win-win for the companies as well as for us. And then they pay us a check, and the students, in a sense, sign that over to us. So they're paying, the students themselves work and pay for half of their tuition.
One of our attendees tonight, Marlene, said her company sponsors Cristo Rey students from ICA in San Francisco. The young women, one from each class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, come one day a week to support sales and marketing office. With COVID, they had to suspend their work experience until they can reopen their office. And that was one of my questions too, was about how is COVID impacting? Are you doing in-person learning?
We are not doing in-person learning. We are doing it all virtually, like many of our schools. We have a 99% attendance rate online, which is unheard of. And remember, again, these kids are living in very tough situation. 1-bedroom apartments with 6 people living in a house. They are living, some are living what's called couch surfing from one relative to another, and yet they show up to class. And because we're using what I call the Summit Learning System, which is basically done through online, our kids are actually, we find, thriving in this. From the corporate work study angle, some of our students are going into the workplace, but most of them are not. Some are working virtually. And so they'll be given an assignment on the computer to do some spreadsheets or data entry, and they'll do that at home. Other students, because the Cristo Rey Network has lost 50 to 70% of its corporate sponsorship this year. That's pretty scary, 50 to 70%. And so we're reaching out to find new businesses to introduce the story so that when the economy opens up again, people will want to hire the kids. So that was a great question.
What's the parent responsibility in relationship to the school and the child's education?
Good. That's a great question. So recognizing our parents and getting the kid even into the school, we need to see a strong commitment for education on the parents' part. They participate in regular parent meetings. We even offer parent training, and they have to participate. We ask the parents, if they can, to pay 10% of the tuition. So that would be $2,000 a year. But because of the low income of our families and the costs of education in the East Bay, of living in the East Bay, our families average a total of $57 a month that they can pay. But they have to be involved from the perspective of supporting their children and following, in a sense, our protocols.
And someone's asking the question is, even though the corporations can't have the students come to work, are they still making a contribution to the school and its program?
There are a few of the corporations that have what we call become angel funders, and they've cut us checks. But most of the companies, some have had to lay off their own regular full-time employees. And so they feel that it's inappropriate. So we have lost approximately $1 million this year. And because of the Christian Brothers, we'll be okay. But we don't want to rely on the Christian Brothers charity every year. So the COVID has been a great challenge for us.
Marlene, who's on the line with us, her company is still paying, contributing to their school in San Francisco.
Tell Marlene to connect me with her company. Who is it, Marlene?
Can you say a word about the faculty? Someone's asking about the faculty, the administration, who works on these schools? How did you get them? Are they some of the former St. Elizabeth high school teachers? Do they need special training?
Great question. So the teachers don't look like me, except for one of them, who's a retired chemist who comes in and teaches chemistry to the kids. The teachers that we have look a lot like our kids, which is great. They're role models. Most of our teachers are people of color. Most of our teachers are under the age of 30, unbelievably idealistic, and many of them come from strong Catholic social justice backgrounds, and they could be going and working at many different places, but they want to make an impact on the lives of those who are marginalized. They hear the call of Pope Francis, and they're responding. So that, and most of them have gone to major four-year universities. I think about 5 or 6 of our faculty members actually were Jesuit volunteers when they left their university, and then they've done that, and now they're coming into teaching. Our administrators, our principal, Ana Hernandez, was one of the first DACA kids, came to the United States, lived in Oakland, went through Oakland public schools, and worked really, really hard. She went to Occidental University because she was unable to get into a UC because she was not, didn't have her immigration papers. And Occidental University is in Southern California. It's the school that President Obama went to. It's one of the best small universities in the country. Anna decided to dedicate her life to Catholic education and has come here and done a marvelous job. She's great because she looks like the kids and is just, I'm in awe of her. The president is Stephen Murphy. He's a brand new to the organization like I am. He graduated from the University of San Francisco Law School, graduated undergrad from Berkeley, played baseball for the Bears. After he got out of USF, him and his wife started their own law firm to support women who struggle from domestic violence. He did that for a few years and then went to work for Nancy O'Malley at the district attorney's office running the Family Justice Center. And after experiencing the Cristo Rey kids who work at the Justice Center, he applied for the position knowing that he couldn't think of a better job or ministry to have. And so those are the types of people who work there. And then people like me who love the gospel, love the church, and want the church to be relevant.
Wow. Yeah, that faculty must be something else to dedicate themselves.
They are, Father John, they're amazing. I mean, the idealism is there, but they're also very young. So they still have a little bit of growing up to do from the perspective of you still got to support the organization. They're great and they have tons of energy. They keep me young.
Yeah. Good. Other questions that our participants might have.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I have a question, Steve. Good to see you. It's Mary Olowin.
Oh, hi, Mary. It's great to see you and hear your voice.
So most of the students were Catholic, and the remainder were other Christian religions. Any Muslims or non-Christian religion students?
At this point, we don't have any. We would love to and are very open. So we don't necessarily prioritize Catholics. However, obviously that's what's going to be created, come to us originally. And also because of the neighborhood we live in the Fruitvale. A lot of the students, a high percentage of the Latinx and a high percentage of Catholics live in the area. But we are open to everything. And what's fascinating about the Lasallians, the Christian brothers, is deeply Catholic, yes, but Catholic in a big universal way. And they really stress the idea of spiritual health, spiritual formation, but not from a dogmatic or doctrinal way. And so people of different faiths, including Muslim or even non-faith, I think would be very comfortable at Cristo Rey de la Salle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for all you do.
What do you think? Do you hear about, I mean, these are unique kids in their neighborhoods, right? And even in their own families. Do they talk about tensions that they experience? I mean, do other kids in the neighborhood, are they envious of them, or do they resent them, or have they been, victims of being beat up because they put a suit and tie on as they walk out of their inner city neighborhood?
Great, great question. Because, if you look at them, you could see them being teased on the block, and some of them have been. But the fascinating thing is the kids take great pride in those uniforms, and yet in the next breath, they'll take them off as fast as they can. And they are unique. Many of them will be the first to graduate from high school, and they definitely will be the first to graduate from college in their families and in the neighborhoods. But what we've discovered is that their families who come there, the entire family unit is working hard. Many of these are immigrant families. And like our grandparents or ourselves or our parents who came over, they come over to the United States understanding they have to work hard. And all they want is a door open for them in the same way we've opened doors for our children. They want a solid education, which they cannot get in the public schools. And they want a safe environment to do it in. And like I said earlier, our job is to provide them with the bootstraps, but they'll pull themselves up. So they are unique and they become leaders, but they really are the regular kid who lives in the Fruitvale or in the flatlands of San Leandro or in the inner city of Concord.
I have a question. Do you have preference for family members? If a student graduates and they have a sibling, would you tend to want to accept that student?
Yeah, we would want to keep it in the family. But again, and so there is no test to get in. We meet with the teachers that the student has gone through middle school with. We meet with the parents, we meet with the student. And what we're looking for is somebody who wants to work hard. Because if we did an entrance test, none of these, almost very few of these kids would get into our Catholic high schools because they're just too far behind academically. But we've developed a system that allows them to come in. So families, we would support the brother coming in and sisters if they had a good track record. Yes. Anyone else?
We have a number of people here this evening that have worked in inner city and with low-income, multi-racial, multi-ethnic communities. MJ, for many years of her educational role as a teacher, worked in
Yeah.
Oakland, a school off Piedmont Avenue. We have people that volunteer. Mary Ellen and her husband have volunteered, with needy kids, so that they know firsthand, the needs that are there. And some of our members have come from Oakland or work in Oakland, so
Yeah.
quite familiar with that.
Yeah. And I think what Cristo Rey does is there's lots of good teachers in our public schools as well. But at Cristo Rey, we've been able to develop a system, a support community, so that the expectations are high when the students walk in. And yet, not only the expectations high, the support structure is there for them. And so they feel their sense of accomplishment and their sense of confidence grows year after year. I've even watched the freshman class just in the first couple of months, and most of what we're doing is on Zoom, come from that shy little 14-year-old to being able to express themselves, ask questions with adults, and it's been amazing. But these are regular kids who face unbelievable disadvantage that most of my kids never faced. And I'll be honest, they work harder than my kids did. I have great kids, but I'm amazed at what these kids do.
I have a question. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood and all the flatlands, all the way down to East Oakland BART. And one of the things that was very prominent with my experience from the grade school, middle school, and high school was the nutrition factor of these kids. And I found it predominant in high school when I was at Oakland Tech and I was at Castlemont. Yeah, the kids, it didn't matter whether it was in the morning or the afternoon, reflected how tired they were. And it was primarily the lack of a diet that gave them energy other than a quick high. So what about the nutrition needs of your students?
Great question. Every one of our students and their families qualify for school lunch and breakfast. And so we provide that cafeteria food for them, hopefully nutritious, better than most places. And during COVID, many of our parents are essential workers in the service industry and have lost their jobs. And so Blue Shield is one of our partners, and they gave us a special grant for $25,000 to begin to put together grocery bags and that kind of stuff for our families. And so we're not just about academics, we're about supporting the family unit as well. Great question.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your work that you did for many years, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, many years. That's
Thank you.
challenging work. Is the Cristo Rey network growing? Is there a new school added every year, would you say? Someplace in the country?
There is, yeah. Since 1996 was the first school, and now there's 37. From what I hear, there's another school opening next year. So it is growing. It's the largest school network that offers a college prep experience for free to no cost to not inner city necessarily, to kids who are poor. There's no other model like it in the country. It's exciting. And each school is totally independent. We work together as an association, but our finances, our governance is totally separate. And so that's why we reach out to the local community for sponsorship, for business jobs, that kind of stuff.
Well, if you give your contact information, Steve, to Christoph, we'll make sure that we tape these, and then we'll make sure that we have your information attached to that so that people could
Great.
reach out. And you've given a number of options. I mean, from just plain financial support to sponsoring a student or connection with the business, where they could work. So there are a variety of ways. And this is
There are.
this is the only Cristo Rey in the Oakland Diocese and in our East Bay area, correct?
Correct. There are 3 Cristo Reys in the Bay Area, one in San Jose run by the Jesuits, Immaculate Conception Academy, which is the oldest continuous Catholic high school in San Francisco, run by the Mission San Jose Sisters. And now we can take great pride that the Diocese of Oakland has Cristo Rey de la Salle.
The recording of this talk will be on our website, and I will put your email under that as well, so people can contact you directly just from our website. One of the things that occurred to me as you were talking is, why on earth is this model not being incorporated into public high schools? This is such a fantastic model. And I mean, it seems to be, why on earth are public schools not copying you? I think they should, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great, I can't answer the question. I think what's great about the model too, is it looks at the larger community and says, if our students are going to do well, if our children are going to grow into successes, the entire community has to become involved. It's not just the teacher's responsibility. It's not just the parents' responsibility. It's all of our responsibilities, including corporations. And corporations are beginning to understand that. It also helps them with that great issue of inclusion and diversity, because most of our large corporations in the tech field, the medical field, are primarily white. And that just keeps perpetuating the struggles that we're having in our nation. So Cristo Rey tries to change that by inviting people like you and me to get involved. So I appreciate whatever help you give us.
Well, thanks very much, Steve. We appreciate your being here, and good luck with your work. I know COVID has put a monkey wrench in everybody's life and work and practice and parishes and schools, and hopefully we'll be able to surmount this sometime soon. For our next week, the month of November is dedicated to the to the souls of the faithful departed. We start with Halloween on October 31st, All Hallows Eve, and then November 1st, the Feast of All Saints, those who have gone before us, marked with the sign of faith, and then November 2nd, All Souls Day. We'll have our parish Book of the Dead out in the front of the church the next few weekends, so that you can inscribe, if you come to receive the Eucharist, you can inscribe the names of your beloved dead. Just bring your own pen along with you. Although we have some souvenir pens that we'll be passing out as well. And anyway, so in light of that, and I've been thinking for a while, we see the numbers of dead on the TV screen every time we turn on the television and the news, how many have died from COVID locally, nationally, internationally, and death is facing us, in a very poignant way during this COVID time. But it's something that we all face. I've always said, from the first breath we take, there's only one direction we're going, to the last breath. And so reflecting on our mortality, speaking about death, about our faith in the resurrection, November is a good time to do that. And it's a realistic thing to do. I've asked a number of parishioners for some ideas, what questions do they have? Some are very practical about just what is the church's ritual at the time of death? or because they haven't been to a funeral for a long time, or what about cremation and things like that. Others want to look more at the philosophical dimension and theological dimension of death. So I'll pick up some of those threads next Wednesday, and use that as an opportunity to begin the month of November, or look to the month of November with some deeper reflection on, we call it the mystery of death. Yes, just yesterday, I was called to one of our parishioners who's in hospice care. Her life isn't long in this world. As I was leaving there, I got a call to go to another home, and there a woman, having suffered with cancer for 19 years, had just died shortly before I arrived. The week before, I was at Atria Care Facility, and one of our parishioners' dad had just died. So it's a reality in people's lives, and it's something that we all will face, do face, and to do so with that sense of hope and belief that this life isn't all there is. I'm hoping that it'll be, give us good food for thought. So thanks to everyone for participating tonight, and thanks again to Steve for being with us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.